One of my favorite days on the football calendar is here. The 2025 New York Football Giants schedule is out. Shout out to NY Giants Rush for going live on Twitter and posting it, and they got it right. And Art Stapleton has confirmed it. But one of my favorite days on the football calendar, because I'm a regular season ticket holder, this is when I start to map out, when am I going to games? What games are going to be warm? Do I have to start dreading all the cold games? Even though it hasn't been, knock on freaking wood, even though it hasn't been that cold. I mean, remember 2 years ago, it was raining, it was pouring all those games. Weather was kind of nice last year. So I get to start thinking, and we all start to get thinking of fantasizing either the best of scenarios for our football team or either the worst of scenarios and the doomsday scenarios. And we're going to talk about one scenario for the Giants. The bye week is coming at a very interesting point. We're going to talk about some Jackson Dart in this video. Why not? Hey, first of all, like, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff. Appreciate everybody being here. We're going to have a podcast out tomorrow. Sean Morash is going to join me because he really likes talking about the schedule, so we're going to talk about it together. But here's the Giants schedule somewhere on this screen. You could see that they start out at Washington and then at Dallas. They have 2 games at home, and they're at New Orleans, and then the rest of the schedule is there on your screen too. Make sure you're looking at it if you're only listening to me. But always want to talk a little bit about Week 1 and give a little bit of a Week 1 preview in this video. Or I kind of like facing Washington Week 1 in a really hard schedule. Washington game Week 1 is really fun. I do wish it was at home, but Landover, Maryland has been pretty kind to us in past years. Even the Giants offense moved the ball last year, scored a couple touchdowns, but still wound up losing that game. The Commanders defense on paper isn't that scary. I really feel like our offensive line should be able to kind of hold up against that front seven. There's some underrated names there, but no names that kind of scare you. I think it's going to be a good litmus test for the Giants offense, the offensive line, the quarterbacks, and basically everybody on that offense to see where they're at right away. They're facing a team that's probably going to score some points and move the ball. Obviously a great test for that Giants defense too, and what we may see out of them. The expectation is that the Giants offense has to do more this year and maybe even do the same, try and keep up with that Commanders offense. So I like it as a familiar opponent for the coaching staff and the players that are returning. You know Jaden Daniels, you know the Commanders offense, you know what they're going to try and do, you know Dan Quinn's defense and what they're going to try and do as well. So I like that there's a bunch of, it's a familiar opponent. I like that it's an individual opponent. I like that it's Landover, Maryland. That's been a place that's been kind to us. And I'm really excited to even watch Abdul Carter versus the Commanders because there's some guys and quarterbacks on the schedule. I think Jaden Daniels is one, Patrick Mahomes maybe another, Jalen Hurts, maybe. Caleb Williams is another, maybe. I'm just going through the schedule. And I think that may be it, where quarterbacks that like to take off and run, that like to take off and scramble or try and improvise and extend plays from outside the pocket and that are really dangerous. But Jaden Daniels, out of all the mobile quarterbacks that are on the schedule this year for the Giants, Jaden Daniels is obviously the most dangerous quarterback with his legs, his ability to especially run the ball, tuck it and scramble. Abdul Carter, everybody's going to talk about Abdul Carter facing off against Josh Connerly, the tackle out of Oregon, as like, hey, rookie versus rookie. Let's see that matchup. I think, and I kind of hope, especially on passing downs, Abdul Carter's lining right up in that A-gap. He's lining up as an off-ball linebacker, and he's QB spying Jaden Daniels. Do I think that's an easy task? No, it's not. It's not obviously not an easy task. But I think Carter's experience as an off-ball linebacker, plus just his natural athleticism, sideline to sideline speed, I think him as like this QB spy, whether Daniels takes off and run, or if he gets to a certain point where he's kind of buying time, and then boom, a hole opens up, and then he goes and attacks, and you got to make sure that you finish if you do that. I like Abdul Carter lining up in the A-gap, the B-gap, or being like this off-ball linebacker instead of being this conventional edge rusher, and I hope we see that right away Week 1 against the Commanders. That's where you can have Kayvon Thibodeau on the field at the same time, Brian Burns on the field at the same time. You can even put Dex lined up, to the right or the left of wherever Abdul Carter is. I mean, you can even take Micah McFadden off the field, a guy like that, and then have Abdul Carter as the off-ball linebacker, and then you put Chauncey Golston up there. I mean, I think the versions of the Giants front seven that we could see, I think the options are endless. Didn't even mention Darius Alexander as part of that too. I really like the options, and I think the Commanders is a good opponent to have right away to see different personnel packages and things like that on the defensive side. So I really like that. The Cowboy game, week 2, main thing with that is that it's not on Thanksgiving, and it's great news to all of us where we have Thanksgiving and Christmas back. And I think it's the first time since 2021 where the Giants haven't played on either of those holidays. And hey, I even love New Year's. We have New Year's as well. So we're going to have New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. No Giants games, nothing like that. So good. That's week 2. The Sunday Night Football matchup against Kansas City, it kind of sucks as a home opener. Sunday Night Football under the lights and being at MetLife, it's going to be cool. I actually like the way that MetLife looks at night and under the lights, and I like the blue. It has a little bit more character at night as opposed to during the day where it's just gray and dull. But I will say, again, I think Kansas City Chiefs week 3 does stink a little bit, especially as a home opener. And the home opener is coming late at week 3 because it's going to be so important for the Giants to try and sneak out at least one of those first 2 games. Because if you fall to the Chiefs and you're 0-2, man, we're going to be walking out of MetLife Stadium on September 21st, 0-3, and kind of knowing the season's over. And that would suck. You're going to walk into MetLife, get excited, home opener, blah, blah, blah. But then September 21st, if you're 0-3 and you're walking out with that feeling, I don't want to have that happen. Let's not have that happen, or let's just freaking beat the Chiefs. Why not? I don't want to go down that dark path, but it's a hard schedule. Teams are good. Giants should be better. Let's keep going. So from there, things kind of lighten up a little bit for one game against the Saints. Obviously, there's the Chargers before that too at home. But things lighten up against the Saints on the road. I do like how the schedule is kind of staggered and how it shakes out, where after the Saints game, you're going to have Philly going to be on a short week after hopefully the Giants beat the Saints. Philly is a team coaches and majority of players are familiar with. Again, divisional opponent, which is a good thing. I like having the mini bye week before having to travel across the country to Denver. Then you're able to come back home and then just go right down the turnpike again to face the Philadelphia Eagles in Philly. So Denver and Vegas are really the 2 furthest trips that the Giants have to take this year. And I think it's buffered in a nice spot where even the Vegas game, it's surrounded by home games. I think the final 4 games of the year, 3 of them are at home, and then the Vegas game is on the road that's being played on a Saturday. So I don't think that's too bad. I'm really looking forward to the Drake Monday Night Football game. There has to be a Manning cast game for that. Eli Manning calling a Giants-Pats games. The jokes and the puns are going to write themselves. So I really want that to happen, even though it is kind of tough to fully absorb Manning casts when your favorite team is on, because you want to listen to what they're saying. So what I usually do for Manning casts is I turn it on the first quarter and the first half, and then when they start interviewing celebrities and people I don't care about, then I'll go back to the regular broadcast. And I like that structure. I really do. And Thursday night games, as I'm thinking of this, the Thursday night game is the Philly game at home, okay? And that's before Denver, which I just talked about. That's the Thursday night game that's at home. So let's talk about the bye week. It's week 14, which is really, really late. But it's at an interesting possible pivot point for the Giants. This could be a turning point to Jackson Dart. There's 2 home games back-to-back after the bye. Like I said, with those 3 home games. There's 2 divisional teams. So again, the staff will know. The preparation will be very familiar, as this staff has been together for a couple years now. Mention that road trip to Vegas, which is indoors, and that may not be the worst matchup for Jackson Dart. I think if the season gets to a certain point, even if the Giants are like okay, but it's maybe not likely, or even if they are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs heading into that Washington game week 15, I think that is a very interesting pivot point to Jackson Dart. I do. I think Washington's defense, we talked about it with week 1, they're not very scary. Minnesota's defense can be scary, and that may be a matchup that maybe you want to avoid, but I kind of, Jackson Dart get thrown in the fire against Brian Flores. It's going to blitz 50 to 60% of the time, and if you watch the Giants' life videos on YouTube, and even if you watch Jackson Dart's video that he did with Gruden, They talked about a lot with Dart. You got to know protections. That's the most important thing. You got to call stuff at the line. You got to get your offensive linemen set, and they got to be set right, and you got to be able to pre-snap detect whatever's going to be happening on the defensive side of the ball. So for a blitz-heavy team like Minnesota, would be interesting to see Jackson Dart play them. Vegas, indoor matchup in December, you could do worse. And then coming home, Dallas, which I don't think that defense is overtly scary. I actually think the Giants should, God willing, be able to run the ball this year against teams that have a bad run defense, and I think Dallas is going to have a pretty bad run defense. Obviously, Micah Parsons is the guy that you're scared of there. So that's the Giants' schedule, where the schedule may go a certain way and the season may flow a certain way, where those final 5 weeks, if you include the bye, those final 5 weeks, Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen may need to save their jobs and throw a Hail Mary. And, I hope it gets to a point where we're at week 14 and Jackson Dart hasn't played a snap yet. He hasn't played, or if he has played, it's because, we blew the fuck out of the New Orleans Saints and they want to see Jackson Dart or Jameis Winston or whatever. I hope we're at a point where the bye is happening and Jackson Dart has not played, but if the Giants season is kind of in the gutter, that is where I think you could see Dart. I think that bye week comes at a good time. You can have a Monday night game. You can have that bye. You can reevaluate things, and then it'll come out that, that Monday before the Washington game, that Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday, whenever they have their press conferences or whenever they start to go back to the practice field, then that's a path for Jackson Dart. So if there is a path for Jackson Dart this year, because Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen maybe need to save their jobs, that's a really interesting pivot point in the schedule, and that's where I feel like it could come. But hopefully it doesn't get to that point, because the Giants are going to make the playoffs, and the Giants are going to win a lot of games. Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston are going to be good. They're going to be fun, and we won't have to see Jackson Dart this year. But it's an option. All right, like, comment, subscribe. That's my schedule reaction. Going to try and maybe do some tailgates this year, so more information will be brought to you on that soon. I'll see you at MetLife. I'll see you in L16. I'll see you tomorrow for a pod with Sean Morash. Like, comment, subscribe, and peace. Thanks for watching.